Hello, I'm Dr. Kill, aka Dr. Bill, accepts cash, credit, or blood, and with me here is...
Azzanadra, the Forum Lurker.
And today we're going to be handling Iconic Graveyard stuff and Woodfall Temple. Sort of not quite thematically together, but Woodfall Temple's pretty short, and there's some stuff to do in Iconic Graveyard. But before that, we need to just accomplish a couple of chores. I need to buy more bomb shoes. I completely ran out in the last episode. And this game makes heavy use of bomb shoes, more than Ocarina of Time or anything. Just because hovers are so much more useful and easier to do, just gotta buy more. And going to warn you right now that this episode is going to be a little bit more raw than the other episodes, a little rougher. A lot more gameplay mistakes in here. Not things that are too crazy, but stuff that'll be pretty obviously wrong. But we'll just deal with that as the time comes. So, heading off to Iconic Graveyard, and I do that by going to Iconic Canyon first, with the Iconic Canyon map marker. It matches to itself. But, do you remember all the stuff you have to do in Iconic Graveyard?
I remember you awaken the Skeleton Man to get the Captain's Cap, and also there's a grave you enter that gives you the Sun Song.
Right, the Song of Storms. Which, and I'll be getting those things. Of course, I don't... the one used for Song of Storms in this game is to get to the Gibdo House, which I've already done. So I'll be getting it, but for something I'll show off much later. And also a little minor thing, but I will be getting it. And there's also Dampy in the graveyard, if you remember what he's all about.
Vaguely. I know he used him to dig stuff up, just like in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. There's like a digging minigame, and at the end of it you get an empty bottle. We'll be doing that, but I have a thing to make it a little bit more interesting. And I have a sort of secret purpose beside it too. But until we get there, I'm buying a map from Tingle. I said I was going to buy them all, but I'm going to spoil the ending. I'm done recording everything, and I forgot to buy the Clocktown map.
Oh, so, how dare you.
I know. And then I also beefed this flip. I was trying to get the bird there, the keys, I forget what it's called. Trying to get it to hit my shield, and that would have recoiled me the same way I get recoiled off of bombs. But I totally missed it. Yeah, I totally forgot the Clocktown map. It's actually a little bit more annoying to get the other maps, because as far as I know, he's only in Clocktown during the day, Tingle. And I'm never in that section of Clocktown during the day. And then I just kind of completely forgot about it.
I remember him being there at night, but I might be working off flawed memories.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have thought so too, but when I was there, I didn't see him. Anyways, way back in episode 3 or 4, I don't remember, I bought a red potion. I didn't comment on it because we were talking about something else at the time, but this is what it was for. So I bought it way back then so I could give it to this guy right now. And this is another thing you need a Lens of Truth for. You can't talk to him without the Lens of Truth. So unlike Ocarina of Time, this game has two things where you actually need to specifically use the lens to accomplish something, and not just memorize where it is. Because I know where he is, but I can't do it without lensing him. And I guess... No, go ahead.
It also doesn't help that he's just, that's the one stone circle where you need to use Lens of Truth on. I have no idea how anybody would find him.
Well, I guess it's sort of obvious, but yeah. It is a ring circle in the middle of nowhere, but, there's a couple ring circles. Alright, so I want to get into the graves, and I can do that even though it's at nighttime. Typically, you're supposed to get the Captain's Hat, if you remember, and then you talk to the skeletons, right?
Yep.
And then you talk to one on the first night of the first day, night of the second, third day, and they each open up a different grave. Of course, I'm here during the daytime, and I can still get in a grave using a trick, but it takes me a while, and this would be the first of the sort of rougher gameplay things. I had a little trouble, but basically if you get on top of this grave, which I do by doing a sort of Goron exploit, where I hop up and then stop the roll and get hit by the bomb, I get up here in this grave, and if I examine the grave in a specific way, then his hitbox, the Goron hitbox sort of clips into the loading zone of the grotto there. And you fall in. Yeah, so I had a little bit of trouble, doing it. But basically, grottos have kind of weird loading zones, or the way you go into them. I just hit it through the grave. And we're in here because this is the Song of Storms part, right?
Yep.
And but of course, what I did when I started off is that from the loading zone that I came in from, I exploded to a different loading zone.
Yep.
right? Like I used a bomb to explode me to the ledge on the other side. So I'm actually in a different grave than the one I entered, essentially. And now we're here to fight the Knuckle. I'm sure you've had trouble with this. A lot of people have trouble fighting these guys.
That was pretty defensive. I just rolled around a lot and cried as a 7-year-old.
Yeah. Well, luckily I have the strongest sword in the game, and I just used a bunch of jump attacks because that's the strongest way to damage him. And with that, I mean, it's pretty easy to kill these guys. I also have plenty of health. I only have 5 hearts, but they're double hearts. So that's plenty of health to do anything. But again, the Song of Storms, but it's cutscene, so we're going to look at something else. I'm going to show off some RBA stuff, or some BA stuff, sorry. So, I mentioned that if you replace something with a fake bottle and catch Hot Springs water, weird stuff happens. If you use the Great Fairy Sword, put a bottle over it, catch water, Hot Springs water, you get a bunch of rupees, and if you leave, you get the Rock Sirloin. And I was cursed. A lot of different effects. In Japanese version, there's a couple different things. So the first thing I use is the Donjira's Mask as a bottle, and it actually gave me a tiny bit of magic. And right now it's 4 o'clock, but when I leave, it'll be midnight. So it actually changes the time of day. And this is only in Japanese version. And then I'm going to use, I think, Cappy's Mask. And that ruins my magic bar. If you notice, it got really short.
Oh wow, you're actually exceeding the rules of your magic bar.
Yeah. And if I catch it in the Kamara Mask, that soft locks the game. So, a lot of effects, but they're all pretty much worthless, which is why it's not as potent in this game as it is in Ocarina of Time. Like, the best thing I got out of that was rupees and the Rock Sirloin, but I had to give up my Great Fairy Sword for that, and that's not worth it.
I don't think anything is, and... oh. Momentum.
Yeah. Another kind of whiff there. I was trying to avoid jumping off the second ledge, but I changed my controls too late. But I hit that loading zone, and that's a different grave than the one I went into. So that's just... it's because those two graves actually just share a map. And you're not ever supposed to just cross over the way I did. But now, we're going to get the Captain's Hat. And like you said, normally you're supposed to wake up that guy right there, Captain Kita, and fight him. But I'm not doing any of that. Don't need to.
Oh.
So, what happens is that he gets out of the way, and you follow him, and that's how you get to the Captain's Hat, basically. Right? But if I just hover up, I can get to where the chest is without having to do that. But the chest is still on fire, right?
Oh, yeah.
Normally when you beat him, the fire goes down, and you can go and open the chest. But there's also... we have a couple of tricks to sort of get past that fire, though it's a little bit difficult. I could actually potentially hover over it, and then dive down and open it that way, but that's actually kind of tough. So I'm going to do a different way using the Zora Mask, using a trick I haven't shown off before. Basically, if you use do controller inputs in a certain way, I'm going to take damage from the bomb to get invincibility, and then do certain controller inputs, that'll glitch me forward as a Zora. Into the fire, basically. And with the bomb invincibility, the fire doesn't burn me, and for a couple of frames I can open up the chest, but it's only a couple of frames. And if I screw up, the fire voids me out.
How many tricks are there to getting chests in fire?
A couple. That one's harder because the ring of fire is bigger. But this is the movement I was doing. You see how he glitches forward?
Oh yeah, when he does his weird jump there.
When he jump attacks, yeah, and he glitches forward a little bit. That's because for some reason, if you hold B when you do that, he glitches forward that way. And doing that, I can clip into the fire for a couple of frames. But I have to be invincible from bomb damage. And now to get into the graveyard, or into Dappy's grave, again, I don't have to go into the gravestone. I can just do a jump here, and I get squeezed through the geometry into this loading zone. And I don't think you're ever supposed to go in from this direction. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Normally you're supposed to go through the grave, right?
I'm not sure. It's not this. None of this looks familiar, but that's because I've mostly just played on a completed save file and explored around.
Oh. Alright, well, so we have, Dampy, he has to dig through a couple spots. There's 6 spots. 3 of them have fire. This first one I think always has fire, but the other ones are just random. 2 fires in between, in all the other dig spots. So you have to move them around a bunch, and that's really, really boring. There's no tricks to it. So while I'm doing this slow process, we can look at something a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to show off something. Note that I have no ocarina in my inventory. That's going to be important. I'm going to do a time stop in front of this Gossip Stone, which I've done before. If you remember back in episode 2, if I do a trick I call time stop in front of a Gossip Stone, I can play the ocarina while moving around. And I go over here and play the New Wave Bossa Nova to raise up the turtle, right?
Okay.
But I'm doing it while I'm able to move around. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause to interrupt this cutscene like I did before. And then I'm going to trigger time stop again. And the way time stop works is I shield for 1 frame and then press the bottle while it's in my hand. And that's how I trigger it. So I'm in this weird state where I've triggered the cutscene for the turtle. And the game understands that it's supposed to be playing. But it can't play during this time stop where the camera's locked. But if I were to cancel time stop, it would actually trigger the cutscene. However, if I get far enough away from it and don't look at that direction, it won't trigger. But if I turn towards that direction, like behind me, then I'll instantly go into the cutscene. I've essentially just sort of delayed the cutscene, and I'm going to trigger it in a specific time. So that's what I'm being careful with the camera here. So if I turn the camera left, the cutscene will trigger. Because I'll be facing towards the turtle. Yeah, you get me so far?
Yep. So far, you're planning on something diabolical, and you can't look directly at the sun.
Right, exactly. And what I do now is I get this light to eat me, and he'll take my shield. And again, I needed this to happen, and then I'm gonna kill him. And what happens is he's gonna drop the shield in the water, and it'll be in like just enough water where Link can swim over it. And what I'm gonna do is turn back to human Link, and swim over the shield, and then look back at the turtle. For whatever reason, as long as you're over the shield, the cutscene won't trigger. But if I dive and pick up the shield, it will, and it interrupts me getting the shield. So you can see he was like sort of recovering from the dive animation, and I don't have my shield. And essentially all of that was to interrupt me getting my shield back, where he puts it over his head. I was interrupting that, where I'm supposed to get my shield back. And when you do that, you can actually modify what item you get. Instead of getting the shield, I can get something else. This is a trick I showed off in the Ocarina of Time playthrough. I actually did it like 3 times. And you could get way more useful items in Ocarina of Time. But in this game, it's not as useful. And the way you change what item you get is you stand in front of a certain chest. Like it'll give you different items depending on the chest. And now, if I look, I have a bottle in my Ocarina slot. And when I surface the water, I then get the item, get an item. But instead of getting the shield, I got the Ocarina back. So that entire long process was just another way to get the Ocarina back. If you would ever lost it for whatever reason.
Well, if you break it somehow, you gotta break it back.
Yeah, exactly. There actually is a speed run, sort of, that uses where you lose the Ocarina and then you have to get it back that way. It's not a very, it's a sort of a tedious run, but anyways, it's an interesting trick and I really like it, but it's not super useful for Majora's Mask because, again, I already had the Ocarina. You almost always have the Ocarina. You need it to progress. In Ocarina of Time, you can get cool stuff like light arrows and even like a bottle. But in this game, that's the only thing that's been like proven you can do in real time. Theoretically, you can get light arrows, but it doesn't work out for various reasons. It's hard to explain. Cool trick that's not useful in this game, unfortunately.
Sucks, because that was amazing in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. But alright, so I finished the Dampy minigame, and if you notice, I'm still being sort of like chased by the Wallmaster. I specifically didn't kill him. Like, he's still trying to get me. And actually, that's important. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to stand in front of this chest and then time stop again. This is basically the time stop episode, right? And then I'm going to open up this chest. And he does the animation, but the chest isn't opening. So I get a bottle, but the chest is still there and unopened. What that means is I can actually keep opening the chest.
Well, considering the camera angle, I'm kind of glad the chest stays where it is.
Yeah, I mean, I did the camera angle so everyone could see it. But basically, every time I open up the chest, I'm getting a new bottle.
My God.
So I'm duping bottles here, essentially. And the chest just does not trigger as being opened. So it's a good way to get a lot of bottles. Now, the problem with this trick is that time stopping in this room, actually, you can't cancel it, and the loading zones don't work properly. But luckily, we have a Wallmaster here to just take us right on out. So that was the only way for me to leave that area. Which is why I didn't kill it. But now look, we have 6 bottles here, and I only ever got, like, 3 real ones. And those are, like, real, like... They're not like the fake bottles in my inventory. They'll act more properly like bottles. I just opened up the bottle chest multiple times. I seriously just got 4 bottles from 1 trigger. Really useful. But now we're done with the graveyard. Is that how you expected me to do everything?
No, I was expecting a clever fight with the Skeleton Man, but I guess just ignoring Skeleton Man is okay with me too.
Yeah. There's a couple ways to find them fast. Shooting arrows, I mean, is obviously the typical strategy. You shoot them arrows quick enough, then you don't have to chase them around very much. Sorry. And then you just have to slash them a bunch. Usually, if you don't have an upgraded sword, then usually like the Goron mask is pretty good. Goron does a lot of damage. In any case, we're done with the Iconic Graveyard. Got everything I wanted from there, and now we're here to do Woodfall Temple. If you remember, I actually rose up the temple before, right?
Yeah.
But I did a Song of Time storage sometime after that. It was when I duped a chest, if you remember that specific instance. But basically, I have to rise up the temple again because I reset all the triggers when I Song of Time storaged, and this is just one of the triggers. And now we get to go into Woodfall Temple, and unlike Great Bay or Snowhead, I can actually do everything in this temple without ever turning DQ. Like, there's no like DQ switches or anything. So I don't have to worry about that. I won't have to ever turn DQ. And it's pretty simple. I think it's just generally faster anyways. So 2 fairies in this first room. And I actually changed direction a little bit at the beginning. I didn't initially plan to get this fairy, but then I remembered it was there. I'm going to be needing a bunch of fairies for the next episode. So I was trying to remember to get some, but I actually just forgot. And that one I remembered like right then. So it looked a little bit janky. But the start of this temple, I mean, I've done it before. I hookshotted that torch before, right?
Yeah.
If I didn't have the hookshot, I could just hover over with bombs. And that's significant because you skip a lot of the temple that way. And the bow is right on the other side of this door. Well, through another door, but essentially it's up here. And, you know how you have to shoot an arrow through the torch here to make the poison, fix the poison?
All too well.
Right. Well, I mean, again, I can fix it right away because I have the bow already. I have some trouble shooting it. But one thing that was weird is that when I shot fire arrows, I didn't do it in this video, but when I tested it out, it didn't light that torch. So for some reason, fire arrows don't work on that one torch. I'm not sure how that works out. Very weird. So fairy in there. I'm down here to get. I need this key. I need that fairy, and across the water there. There's. I'm gonna get the map again. Do you remember those turtle guys? These guys?
Oh yeah, the bark they make is ingrained in my brain.
Yeah. Typically, I think people fight them by going into DQ flowers and uprooting them when they're above you. But luckily, if you just trigger their spin attack at you and drop a bomb right in their way, they hit the bomb and that triggers the explosion, flips them over real fast. So, nice strategy for dealing with them. Like, did you know that bombs work that way?
No, I never ever thought of doing that, probably because I guess when I was first playing, I just figured bombs were a dungeon item or something, and I didn't realize that the only dungeon items in this game are arrows.
Yeah. It's a bit weird. Like, I think a lot of people actually underestimate bombs. Like, bombs are, like, for glitching, obviously, they're incredibly useful. But they also have a lot of really cool, like, uses, especially for damaging enemies, that I think most people don't ever use them for actual damage. Like, I guess maybe this game's not incredibly conducive towards it. I don't know, but people don't. I think when I played it for the first time ever, like, I definitely didn't use bombs very often, just for like breaking bomb stuff specifically. But I need to hit that switch. Another example of a bomb boosting me off a ledge. You get a lot of distance here. I think you're supposed to fall from above and hit that switch.
I've always managed to jump without using the bombs there, but the bomb seems a lot easier. Just fly.
Yeah, basically. And I'll just get this chest, and I use a bomb to actually boost me back down a little bit faster. A slick little trick here, if you throw a bomb towards this block here, that'll pop the fairy bubble that's underneath it. So you don't have to worry about, like, going in the water and popping it, or, like, finding a good spot to shoot it with an arrow. Bombs actually have a pretty big blast radius, so they're useful for things like that. I did it once in Snow Hit too. I don't think I pointed it out though. And with fire arrows, I can go ahead and just light this torch. I don't have to use DK sticks.
Yeah, screw those moths.
Yeah. And right here, I got a little bit frazzled because I did not have as many fairies as I was supposed to have. So I forgot a fairy. Points to you if you remember which one I forgot. It would have been in a room I've already passed.
It might be a center one. I'm not sure.
I forgot one in the main room. Yeah, where you light the poison water flower or whatever. I forgot one in there. But yeah, so if anyone watching can remember which one it is, you might be able to understand why I forgot. It's kind of hidden, but it's when I constantly forget. I'll be getting it. I do remember, like, by now, I think, when I was playing, I sort of remembered which one I forgot. So I'll get it, but it wastes a little bit of time me forgetting.
Yeah, it's really out of the way, and the only reason I ever remember it's there is when the fairy mask shimmers in that room, and I just start going crazy wondering where it is.
Yeah, well, we'll see in a little bit. But again, I get to skip having to light torches and webs and stuff because I just have fire arrows. Fire arrows is a pretty useful object to have in this temple. If I didn't have them, though, I could use that trick I've shown off before where I can shoot like arrows on fire with a DQ stick. It's a little bit hard to trigger, but I can do it in that room I was just in. So I could have done that. But I have fire arrows, so it's just a little bit easier.
I always have this like mental image of Link rubbing a DQ stick and an arrow together to set them on fire.
Yeah, basically.
Whenever he does that.
Yeah, no, basically. So here I was trying to be a cool guy. If you're right, you can actually take out your sword while the torch is lighting, while you're lighting the torch. So you, like, I don't know, it looks cooler, but I messed it up and now I have to just relight some torches. But a cool strategy for dealing with all the little bows, the little snowball enemies here. If you, like, stand still for a little bit, they'll all group around you and you can just blow them all up with a bomb. Which is what I did. I missed one. But all the other ones are dead from the bomb. And you need to kill them off for this fairy chest. Alright, so in this next room's above that main room. And there's a lot of holes that I think you're supposed to fall down. What I'm going to do is recoil off this bomb and then influence the direction I'm getting blown back, which you can do. And I do that to actually land on this ledge right here that's right in front of the door to the next room. So I'm right here. And then I just take another fire arrow to light the torch to open up the door. Now I'm going to get that fairy I forgot. It is right down there. There's a fairy in a pot right there. Just completely forgot about it. That one's like the most hidden one for me anyways. I always forget it. So this room has 4 fairies in it. Probably the most loaded fairy room, I guess. So I just have to go around and collect these last few fairies. And obviously this is the room to the boss room, but if you remember, I didn't get the boss key, right?
I'm guessing you don't need it.
I do not. Well, if I did have the boss key, I could actually hookshot a torch up by the boss door. I wouldn't have to like use any of these flowers to get to it. Like there's a platform in the center. You can just stand on and hookshot up to the boss door. But again, I don't have a boss key. I didn't want to fight the gecko, the frog / turtle enemy, because it's a frog on a turtle. I didn't want to fight him. Although I will mention that fire arrows do more damage to him, in case anyone wasn't aware. But I don't need that. There's a couple of boss key skips. There's one I could have done in the room I was just in, but it needs more explosives. So I'm gonna do one that's a little bit easier for me. First off, I kill that dragonfly just so he doesn't bug me, because he has gotten in the way before. But you see this pillar I'm up against?
Yeah.
I need to get on top of it. And the way I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna hover, but I'm not gonna hover up all the way. So if I change angles, turn away, and then actually put on the Zora mask, I get a little bit of height from the Zora, and he can grab on ledges that are a little bit higher than Link can normally grab onto. That's a way of saving a couple of explosives. But now, from here, I'm going to do a trick that, I've shown off a couple times with the Zora. If you roll up against, or if you walk off a ledge, like here, and target while you're while you're falling off of it, it'll actually clip you through the ledge and the wall. So now I'm out of bounds. And what I'm going to do is hover backwards enough. We'll get enough backwards distance. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself land in the loading zone. Because the way dungeons work is that the entire collision of the entire temple is always loaded. As well as the loading zone to the boss room. So basically the boss room loading zone exists in every single room of the dungeon. So if you get out of bounds, you can get to it. This is just one of the easier ways. I hover backwards enough and then do a mega flip and I land to the boss room. So we didn't need any boss key for this. Now, do you remember how to fight this guy?
Not vaguely. I'm sure there's multiple strategies, but I think just wailing with a sword is just about as good as you can get.
Yeah, it's pretty useful. Spin attacks are pretty good if you're not glitching around or just aren't too aware of some strategies. But there's also a really easy strategy. Turns out if you stun him with an arrow and just stab him with a specific rhythm, he can never move. So he's done.
So you just literally just stabbed him in that area until he's gone.
Basically. But the thing is, I had to do it at a specific rhythm, specific timing, I guess. And if you do it like that, obviously you just saw it, he never moved. He just stood still. And you can do that with the Kokiri sword. It would just take a lot longer, but essentially you could just stab him 20 times and he'll stay completely still. So it's a funny little trick. It's just a stun lock, but he doesn't have an animation for it or anything. Another cutscene, and it means another thing to look at. So, if you weren't aware, there's a grotto right here in front of Great Bay. Right?
Right.
Now, the grottos in this game, for one thing, they have really high walls. But while they have really high walls, they don't have any ceilings. So if I hover up enough, I can actually get out of bounds. And that's important because, like the fairy fountains, all the grottos in this game, they occupy the same map in-game. So if I get out of bounds, I can actually land in the sort of collisions of another grotto. And I can hit the loading zone of that grotto. And this one happens to be right here. The grotto for the magic beans.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course they are.
Yeah, so essentially I landed in this grotto just while the textures weren't loaded. And, all the like I said, it's all the grottos, and they're usually close enough that, yeah, you can... it's not impossible, I just did it. It's incredibly complicated. The problem is, it does use a lot of explosives, and ultimately, you don't get a whole lot of time save out of it. It is faster to do it this way. Like this grotto that I come out of right now, it's only supposed to be there at night, so you don't see it. But I come out of it, and that platform right there, that platform goes straight to the monkey where you get the Sonata. So that's essentially the fastest way to get the Sonata, but it's also really resource intensive. But, all that was just to show off that, the grottos, they share a map. I wish it was a little bit more useful. But I showed off maybe the two most useful ones. But, having the Song of Soaring being able to take you anywhere is sort of obsoletes a lot of that. But alright, I caught the Deku Princess. I'm going to need her later, but you'll see it right now. The Deku Princess is not in one of my real bottles, right?
Oh no.
I'm using the powder cake bottle, just so people remember. It's not specifically important that it's the powder cake bottle, but it is important that it isn't a dupe bottle, because I've shown off before. Fake bottles or dupe bottles do not get reset when I go back in time. So if I go back in time, I will be able to keep the Deku Princess. So if I wanted to, I could actually keep doing that, and I can essentially build up an army of Deku Princesses if I wanted. But, I don't want to do that. It's not particularly useful.
Behold, my army of princesses shoved into bottles.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be funny. Obviously funny, but not particularly useful. But I will be using her later in the next episode. Right, gotta deliver these fairies. While that happens, I'm gonna show off. So this chest has a piece of heart in it. I'm going to dupe it like I did with the bottles. But it's also a really slow process. So I speed it up, but essentially you can keep getting hearts this way, off of this one chest. And you just fill up on hearts. You can just keep opening it and get all 20 hearts. Or, more than that.
Or they just kind of go off the side.
Yep, I can get 30 hearts, or maybe 40 hearts. I don't know if there's like a max limit. And essentially, I just kept opening it until I reached the edge of my screen. And if I leave, you can see it, well, it's just behind all the buttons. And they work as hearts. And if I were to save the game, this is what my save file looks like.
Why can't they just... They're everywhere.
Yeah, I can't display them properly. But now we have the quick spin, and we got all the fairy rewards, and that'll be the end of this episode. So next episode, we'll finish off this day because we don't have much time left, and we'll be getting the couples mask. So I guess look forward to that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Bye.